Hello everyone, this is part 16 of What If Naruto was actually helped by the third Hokage, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. The struggles of Q. As Naruto was embarking on his mission to Yuki no Kuni, Q was walking through the town. The people of Konoha had grown used to his presence and the women of Konoha were shameless with their ogling. Thanks to Naruto, most of the village came to accept his presence and he had even been confronted by villagers wishing to state the grievances or offer forgiveness. Since they had been acquainted with Q for 3 years prior to his identity leaking, things ended up resolving themselves. Today, Q was walking through the streets of Konoha following the scent of his mate, Suna Inuzuka. As Q thought about his feral beauty, he remembered all the craziness, joy and orgasmic bliss that the relationship with Suna brought him. When he told her his true name and identity, she accepted him. When he tried to push her away by being a womanizing bastard, she pulled him in and offered him love. When he brought her to Sagewoods last month to check up on the soon-to-be-born litters of Kitsune, she took tender care of his kin. Q was a centuries-old being and he had walked among mortals before, however, he had never truly fallen in love with a mortal. He didn't want to think about the pain of watching a mortal lover wither and die. He used this excuse to keep Naruto at bay while the kid was marrying 6 beautiful women, but it was starting to lose its effectiveness. Kurama was broken from his thoughts by an overwhelming scent of mixed perfumes, so he looked up and saw Konoha's premier women's luxury store. The words of Naruto ran through his mind, and he found himself compelled to enter. After completely severing his sense of smell, Q entered the department store. He was greeted by gawking women that took his exposed chest and 8-pack abs in with overwhelming lust. The attendant came up to his and asked if she could help him find anything. Q's one-word answer made the attendant flush and squeal with excitement. Rings. She took Q's hand and marched him over to the jewelry section of the store where Q saw 10 glass display cases filled with precious stones of various types, sizes, shapes and cuts. There were displays of gold, silver, platinum, and more precious metallic bands. It was overwhelming for a chakra creature such as Q. He asked the attendant which one she preferred and soon he had a council of 10 female shoppers that were offering their unsolicited opinions on which stone, cut, ring, engraving, etc. would work best. When one of the women asked who the ring was for, the following silence spread throughout the department store like a ripple through a lake. The silence was broken by a black-haired and red-eyed beauty. This is for Suna Inuzuka. No way. Like a switch, the screams, shouts and unsolicited opinions flew once again. Q was drowning in the jealousy of these petty mortal women. They had nothing on his feral princess, and he was getting sick of it. Q flared his aura a little bit, or at least what he thought was a little bit. 6 of the women passed out from the pressure and the others fell to their knees. He let up on the aura because most of the women were starting to cry and said that he would not stand for any demeaning comments about his mate. The crowd of ladies dispersed shortly after that, leaving just the woman with the enchanting red eyes. You know, Q, I have been friends with her daughter for most of my life. I think she would like something simple, powerful and connected to you. Follow your heart and she will be happy. Q flashed a genuine smile at the woman. Thank you, miss. Your eyes gave me the perfect idea. Kurenai watched as Q selected a medium-sized red ruby in a diamond cut. It was laid onto a golden band that was etched with a wavy design. Q asked the jeweler to inscribe, "To the first princess of the Kitsune, with love Q," on the band. The inscription encompassed nearly the whole interior of the ring, but Kurenai thought it was a beautiful offering for Suna. Q then took the ring in his hands and focused chakra into it. The ruby, once a normal shiny red, now emanated an enchanting red light from it. Q put the ring into its box and walked out of the store. The broken and shattered hopes of the women in the department store made his pride swell a bit, which made his toned chest puff out a little more. Damn straight, I am the QB no Kitsune. Thought Q. Kurama ran into his pup, Kiba, as he was entering the compound. The human pup groaned, and the actual pup yipped in happiness upon seeing his alpha. Q plastered a confident smirk on his face. What's with the sour face, pup? Oh, and hello to you Akamaru, how are you doing boy? Kiba scowled at this hidden slight. Q, I told you 100 times already, I am not your pup. I swear you intentionally treat my dog with more respect than me. Q adopted an overly innocent expression. Ara, whatever could you be talking about, Kiba-kun? Kiba deadpanned at this. Rather than responding to the provocation, he simply walked away. Kiba had to learn the hard way over the past 3 years that he could never get one over on Q. The best way he found to deal with him was passionately ignoring him. As Q watched Kiba walk away, a devious smile graces his face. He remembered what he came here for and walked up to the house. Sum had been in a funk recently. She felt like her and Q were drifting apart. Of course this was mainly due to Q sleeping around a bit too much. She never marked him or claimed him as hers. There is no way she could, he was undeniably the alpha of the relationship. However, that didn't stop the bitter feelings of jealousy and pain rising in her chest. Emotions that she hadn't experienced since she was a teen. She was trying to muster up the confidence to confront Q and give him an ultimatum of sorts. But how can I give an ultimatum to Q, the kami damned Kyubi no Kitsune? He has made me so happy these past few years, so what if he sleeps with other women? I mean, Naruto is spoiling the hell out of 6 girls and Q has become much like him. Sum's thoughts continued spinning in circles as she was getting out of the shower. She wanted to smell fresh and ready for Q since he was supposed to be coming over tonight. Her mind remained lost in the maelstrom of her contradicting thoughts as she slipped on her bra and panties. It was then that her door creaked open, and her red-haired Adonis walked into her room. The smile that Q was wearing shocked her out of her revelry and she threw on a smile to match his. After a kiss, Q told her to wear something nice and they would be going out tonight. Now, the normally feral and confident woman was literally tearing through her closet looking for something nice to wear. She settled on a semi-formal one-sleeved dress. It was a powerful red to match her mate's color and it cut off mid-thigh so that she could show off for Q. Any impartial third party would be forced to admit that this woman in her 30s had a striking beauty to her. Q was sitting in the kitchen acting all nervous and shit when Kuromaru, Sum's Ninken partner, smelled Q's anxiety. The two shared a brief talk and Kuromaru was able to squeeze Q's plans out of him. About time you two made it official. I will let you know, Q-sama, that she will be overjoyed to become your official mate. I understand a good rutting session, but 3 years of it was starting to get on my nerves. You know you are my alpha, but I was close to informing you on many occasions that you were pushing the line, Q-sama. Kuromaru's respectful tone conveyed his genuine feelings to his alpha. Thanks, Maru. I appreciate your honesty. I am nervous because she will be my first official human mate, which is a big deal for an immortal. I was so hesitant because the thought of watching her slowly age and die scared me. Imagine that the great Kyubi fears watching a human die. Q's tone carried shame and concern simultaneously. It is understandable, Q-sama. One such as I could never understand, but I know you to be honorable. You will care for her and knowing your partner, you two will figure something out. The conversation was cut short from its natural conclusion by the sound of heels gracefully descending the wooden stairs. Ninken and Biju watched as the feral beauty descended. Q was glad that he is a chakra construct, otherwise he would have been sweating profusely. He felt his chakra flow speed up and his mind raced as he stood from his chair and complimented his mate. The two left the Inuzuka compound and Q took Sum to the private lounge at Ichiraku's. Q knew that this had rapidly become one of the highest stature restaurants in town and they had a standing reservation as members of Naruto's family. The two sat down in the lounge, both nervous for different reasons. Sum was trying to muster up the courage to tell Q her true feelings. Q was nervous because he wanted to get through this dinner without incident and make it through his proposal. The dinner was admittedly awkward and absent of the normal playful banter between the two. After an agonizing hour for the two, Q took Sum's hand and walked her through the town toward the Hokage monument. Just the act of walking through the crisp night air helped to alleviate some of the awkwardness. Finally, they made it atop the Yondaim's head on the monument. Q had taken a liking to it since he spent so much time up here with Naruto over the years. Q took a deep breath and began his statement. Sum-chan, I have felt like you have been holding something back from me, and I think I know what it is. I ask that you let me go first because I believe it will address what you wish to talk about. Q took another deep breath and paused here to steady his nerves. I have lived for centuries, I honestly don't know how many. Most of my existence I lived in the darkness of hate and among the evil of humanity. It wasn't until Naruto shocked me awake that I started seeing the goodness in the world the sage left us Biju to protect. I kid you not when I say that I have never taken a mate from this realm. My only previous kitsune mate died in childbirth and sent me into a centuries-long darkness. When Naruto finally woke me from it, I met you, my Inu Haim. Sume's mind was racing. She had never heard Q talk with such sincerity or ever monologue like this. She was trying to calm her mind and was hoping against all hope that he was trying to say what he wanted her to say. Her overwhelming emotions were leading to a tear starting to form in her eye. Her eyes glistened in the moonlight and the reflection of Konoha's lights could be seen on the shimmering mirrors as she continued to listen. You are strong, beautiful, sexy, caring and a natural leader. I have seen all these traits in you since day one. My fear of losing you held me back and made me act out by giving in to baser instincts. The thought of having to watch you leave this world and lose another mate still terrifies me. However, Naruto and the sage would be disappointed in me if I continued to let fear rule me. Q paused as he stood up, took Sume's hands in his and then got down on one knee. Sume's breath hitched in her throat and Q's hands were the only thing stopping her from covering her mouth. Sume Inuzuka, would you do me the honor of being my mate? To be the only woman in my life for the remainder of our time together on this earth. To be my guiding light and keep me from receding back into the darkness. To raise another litter of kits and join my partner on his mission for peace. Q had let her hands go to recover the ring from a pocket in his pants. Sume had tears leaking down each cheek as she nearly hyperventilated into her hands. As soon as he asked her to be his mate, her head started nodding up and down furiously. When Q finished speaking, she jumped into his arms saying yes repeatedly and locked her lips onto his. Q spun Sume around on the head of his previous nemesis as he looked forward to a life together with his new mate. For the next week, the Inuzuka clan was severely sleep-deprived and they were all wishing they could recruit Naruto for his sealing skills. The moans, screams of pleasure and the crashing of broken objects echoed across the whole Inuzuka compound. After a week, the whole clan gathered outside Sume's house to ask them to keep it down or take it elsewhere. Thus, they moved into the temporarily vacant Namika's expansion. The sandy exams and windy wedding. 5 months passed in the blink of an eye for Naruto and company. Well, maybe not the blink of an eye. Kuretsuki and Haku were now fully showing and wearing maternity uniforms. Hinata and Samui were also 3 months pregnant and Ino was just confirmed to be pregnant. Nobody told Naruto that the road to peace would come with so many mood swings and weird cravings. Anko and Temari were the only ones still using birth control seals. Anko because she wanted to help Naruto in his fight against the Akatsuki and Temari because they were not officially married. However, that was about to change. Temari's dearest wish in life was to be married to Naruto and join the covenant of sister wives and her wish would be granted in a little over a week. The amount of international hype over the pregnancies was reaching a dull roar and Naruto was concerned that his enemies would use his wives and children against him. He had deployed multiple defensive seals over the Namika's compound and the hospital where his girls were working. The compound was also guarded by an international squad full-time at this point. The girls were constantly guarded any time they left the compound, much to their annoyance. Anko was the only one Naruto agreed to let go without a guard since he didn't feel like worrying about snakes snacking on his genitals. Not to mention, she was the only one that could hold off an S-ranked opponent and she was still taking active missions. The other girls passed their time by developing their healing jutsu and became certified nurses at the hospital. Suna was grateful for the help and the hospital appreciated the extra woman power. They were welcomed into the medical corps with open arms. All the doctors and nurses still loved Naruto from his mascot days. However, they were treated as celebrities due to their role in the Peace of the Great Five. This annoyed them a bit, but the girls grew to love their hospital duties. Plus, they were looking forward to their vacation next week. They were all going to travel to Sunagakure for the Chunin exam finals and Temari's wedding. Naruto had spent the last 5 months taking care of his girls' needs and assimilating into the role of Hokage. For all intents and purposes, he was the Hokage. Hiruzen involved him in all decisions and left any decisions that could affect the future of Konoha to him. Thankfully, shadow clones were the most valuable resource, especially when they could be made by the 100s. Hiruzen now only managed the D to B ranked missions, the political paperwork and the financial paperwork. Naruto coordinated all international affairs, mobilized the shinobi force against the Akatsuki and coalition of minor nations and assigned all to S-ranked missions. He also was responsible for recruiting and screening the international battalion. This was his greatest success over the past year. Each village sent some of its brightest shinobi to join the international forces. These forces were trained by Naruto, Itachi, Zabuza, Darui and Akatsuki. Itachi handed off the Anbu commander role off to Shisui so that he could contribute to Naruto's dream. Their express purpose was to fight the Akatsuki and be the spearhead in the upcoming war. They handled strategic missions like raids on known enemy outposts, protection of high-value dignitaries, protection details for international events and most importantly to Naruto, protection of his family. Naruto gratefully accepted the help from various nations when it came to protecting his family, which was now at its most vulnerable state. Naruto had also completed the anti-space-time seals. With this seal, Naruto secured key locations in all hidden villages by reinforcing the dimensional space within the seal, which blocked the manipulation of space and time within the barrier. He gave this seal freely to the other Kage. The only downside was that he was the one that had to install it. He flashed all over the elemental nations making sure the orange mask couldn't warp into wherever he pleased. Naruto installed a space-time notification system into Konoha's barrier core and strengthened the defenses of this barrier. The only chakra signature that could freely use space-time ninjutsu inside Konoha was Naruto. Between this and the protection detail, Naruto was confident he could protect his family. The upcoming trip to Suna was a big deal for Naruto and the international forces. All 6 of his wives demanded that they be present for Temari's wedding, to the protests of every single security professional in the elemental nations. They had to travel by carriage because they were too far along in their pregnancies to safely use the Hiraishin. Naruto stopped using the Hiraishin on all his girls at Tsunade's insistence, evidently it posed a significant risk to the babies. This resulted in Naruto staying busy by coordinating the wedding and security detail. As soon as they left the village, Itachi would take over responsibilities for the security detail and let Naruto focus on his wives. Tensions were high because Akatsuki sightings were rising and there were full-blown skirmishes with rebels and coalition forces on nearly every major border. Despite this, all Kage decided that they would attend the Chunin exams and the wedding would still take place. Naruto had given Hiraishin kunai to trusted individuals in each village that could send out a distress signal if a reaction force were needed. They wouldn't let fear rule their lives. Naruto looked over the security detail for the Konoha caravan. The girls were in a carriage reinforced with seals, behind them was the daimyo's carriage, then various noble carriages that wished to attend the wedding and Chunin exams. They were protected by the international detail that numbered 44 ninja broken down into 4 squads of 10. In Itachi's squad, Squad 1, Sasuke and Shino stood in formation with 8 other international ninjas. In Squad 2, Daru's squad, Shikamaru, Neji and Yamato, and ex-Anbu, represented Konoha. In Squad 3, Zabuza led Chojuro, Karui, Omoi and Tenten along with 6 others. Squad 4, led by Akatsuki, Kiba, Hisashi and Yugao Yuzuki represented Konoha. Each of the international shinobi bore a Hishi-8 with the international crest and wore a different uniform. They wore black Jonin vests over dark blue, long-sleeve shirts. The vests and shirts bore standardized seals that made them more durable and slash-resistant. The seals eliminated the need for mesh armor, which made each shinobi lighter. Each of the vests also bore weight seals that were to always remain active, except in case of combat. Along with this, each arm guard and shin guard were enchanted with weight seals, strengthening seals and many storage seals. The cargo pants were also black and reinforced with anti-blast and fire-resistant seals. Each international shinobi was expected to carry some sword. If they didn't already have one of their own, Naruto would provide one from the Uzumaki armory. Since this unit was his idea, he decided to arm and equip his forces. Once everything was ready, Naruto gave the signal to move out and joined his girls in the carriage. Itachi took over as battalion commander and had Squad 2 take point, making full use of Neji's Byakugan. Inside the carriage, the conversation was lively, and the girls were comforting an exhausted Naruto. Kuretsuki was having a much harder pregnancy than Haku and she intended to give her husband shit for it. You know, Ruto-kun, I think I am going to study Fuinjutsu and find a way to make it so you can carry the next baby. This is so not fair. The pouty face Kuretsuki was wearing made everyone giggle. Oh, Kuro-chan, if I could, I would. However, thanks to our mating bond I do feel everything you're feeling, my love. I have been here every step of the way and I will be there to the end, my Kuro-chan. Internally, he was laughing with Kurama, and both agreed, thank Kami they were guys. The giggles from the rest of the girls were music to Naruto's ears. Even so, he got down on his knees in the center of the carriage and gave Kuro's stomach a kiss through her maternity dress. He then lifted himself up and placed a kiss on her lips. This eliminated the pouty face. Don't think that will get you out of everything, mister. I want my cuddle time tonight. And I want some pickled dango. And onion cheese curds. The pout transitioned to a cute and whiny tone. However, the disgusting assortment of cravings earned a silly face from Naruto and an EW from all girls. Haku got a dreamy look on her face. Oh, pickles, that makes me want pickled herring. Naruto groaned, why do all pregnancy cravings leave you with bad breath? Both girls rounded on him and screeched, meanie. The conversation stayed light and fun, distracting the group from the perilous week-long journey. Outside the carriages, Squad 2 led the caravan by nearly a full mile. They were coming to the border of Hai no Kuni and were soon to pass through river country. This was the most dangerous part of the trip, and everyone knew it. River country hadn't officially joined the coalition, but they wouldn't publicly denounce them. Squad 2 scouted the planned resting spot on the Fire Country border and found that it was clear. Darui pinged a message in Anbu code through the Alliance tattoo, a variation of the Konoha Anbu tattoo that Naruto designed. He used chakra bursts through the tattoo to say to all captains and Naruto, rest. Stop. 1. All. Clear. Naruto pinged back, good. Set up. Cordon. Barriers. He then let the girls know that they would be stopping soon for the night. After taking care of the daimyo and other various dignitaries, followed by a 30-minute SITREP meeting and finally he went to join his girls. The group spent the night in a special tent enchanted with Fuinjutsu to increase the space. The tent looked normal from the outside, but inside it was bigger than the master bedroom in Naruto's house. Naruto unsealed a king-sized bed and let his girls rest in peace. They were already asleep in a tangled mess on the bed when Naruto crawled into the mess to join them. Despite them being asleep, the girls moved naturally to surround and cuddle the love they all shared. The night passed without incident and the caravan began their trip through river country. They would be in river country all day and camp at the edge of the desert before making the 3-day journey across the dry and windy sands of Kase no Kuni. The day also passed without incident, however, as dusk was approaching that was about to change. Darui was panicking a little bit. His scout, Neji Hyuga, just sent him a message through the squad tattoo, and it was nothing but bad news. 400 ninjas, 2 abnormal, 1 flying, 2 miles out, moving fast. Darui immediately notified the captains and Naruto. Naruto gave quick kisses to each of his girls and left a clone captain in the carriage. Naruto appeared outside the carriage and used Squad 4 to construct a barrier, the most powerful barrier he knew, 8-point barrier of heaven and earth. The barrier created a massive octagon that protected the entire caravan and the 2 remaining members of Squad 4 moved to protect the carriages. Naruto moved with the protection detail to prepare for the incoming enemy forces. He caught up with Daru's squad, got a SITREP and conveyed his orders to the captains. He set squads 2 and 3 into flanking positions on the battlefield and had them engage their stealth seals, which he had enchanted on every cloaks. Naruto himself created 2 clone captains and they all sat down in a meditative position. Itachi knew what he was doing and gave orders to Squad 1. Deidara was excited, very excited. He had been forced to lay low for most of his time in the Akatsuki. Leader Sama made him train to death and kept saying that the Kyubi Jinchuriki would rip through them. However, he was finally given the go-ahead to launch an attack on these so-called international forces. Now, Him and his partner Sasori were leading 400 cannon fodder, he means ninjas, into battle. Their scouts said that there were 20 or so ninjas guarding a massive caravan. Their scouts told him of the enemy location an hour ago, and now he could see the caravan from his position on top of his clay bird. He slid his hands into the pouches on his utility belt in excitement. That was when a massive blue barrier sprang into existence around the caravan. This made him want to use his art to blow through the barrier. Sasori was on the ground moving with the coalition ninjas, which left him wanting. His puppets could destroy this entire force of ninjas that he was being forced to work with. He and Deidara were going to use the cannon fodder to get access to the Jinchuriki. Initially, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki was going to be taken last, however, the Kyuubi was the linchpin for the whole five-nation alliance. Because of him, every single living Jinchuriki was under the lock and key of the alliance. Not to mention, during every major engagement the damned yellow brat would show up and trounce the remaining enemy. This made the Akatsuki want to deal with him first to have an easier time capturing the rest. He saw the massive barrier go up and could sense the power emanating from it. He could care less about the daimyo and the nobles, but he did want to use them as distractions. Naruto stood up from his meditation and his eyes were narrowed, eyes with black, vertical slits greeted the world. There were red markings around his eyes and tattoo-like chakra markings worked their way down each side of Naruto's face. He flashed into his golden mode that now had red chakra markings that worked their way alongside the standard black markings. Red chakra lines went over his shoulders and spiraled down his arms and spread to each finger, which each ended in a sharpened red nail. His aura was fierce and overwhelming to enemies while being inspiring and warm to his allies. I know you can feel those too, Q. Let's do this. You got it, partner. Nobody is going to touch our mates or kits. Inside the mindscape, the massive fox punched his two clenched paws together. He loved when Naruto synced with him like this. He felt so alive and saw the world so clearly. This must have been what the sage envisioned when he spoke to Kurama all those years ago. Kit, there is a third strange presence that is separated from the enemy force, 2 clicks to the west. It is very faint, but I can tell it is not a normal scout. We will worry about him after the main fight, Q. Naruto stopped focusing on the internal conversation. He knew Kurama could read and influence his thoughts in this mode anyway. Itachi, we hit them hard and fast to start. I am going for the Akatsuki on the ground, coordinate with Squad 1 and 2 to deal with the airborne Akatsuki. Itachi confirmed his orders and disappeared in a shunshin. Naruto, in his golden sage mode, prepared to raise shuriken, 1 in each hand. He disappeared forward and jumped high into the sky. His jump took him nearly 100 meters into the air, and as he sailed through the air, he got visual confirmation on each enemy he had sensed. Kurama smirked in excitement as Naruto launched 2 massive spiraling shuriken at the enemy forces. Kurama knew that this jutsu his partner created was comparable to his tailed beast ball, called a bijudama. The shuriken screeched as they sped through the air, and the high-pitched whine drew attention to the overloaded chakra balls. The enemy forces attempted to scatter, but 2 seconds later the 2 Raisin Shuriken impacted on the right and left flanks of the enemy. They detonated and formed 2 spheres of wind blades that disintegrated everything within a 100 meters diameter. The force of 400 ninjas was whittled down to 150 in the opening assault. Nothing remained of the fallen except 2 massive craters that were 100 meters wide and 50 meters deep. Squads 1, 2 and 3 launched their area jutsu at the stunned enemy force and whittled it down further. After a chain explosion of fire, earth, water and lightning, there were 50 or so ninjas left. They were worth very little in this fight against the most skilled and best trained shinobi force ever created, but that is why Deidara called them cannon fodder. Through the chaos, Itachi spotted his target floating in the air above the chaos and pointed him out to Darui. That was when he noticed multiple birds speeding toward his forces. Itachi worked with a Suna ninja to counter the incoming attack. He launched a Kaiten, Great Sage Flower Jutsu, and spit out 40 mid-sized fireballs at the incoming projectiles. The Suna ninja, Miko, enhanced the fireballs with a Futon, Great Breakthrough. The enhanced fireballs collided mid-air with each of the birds and caused a chain of explosions mid-air. One bird made it through the counter and detonated over a couple members of Squad 1. When the fireball cleared, Itachi saw a wooden dome where the explosion occurred. He gave a brief internal thanks to Tenzo and returned to the fight. As Naruto was beginning his descent from the jump, he saw the guy flying on the clay bird throwing more birds toward his forces. He also saw that Itachi had it handled. He scouted the area for the chakra signature he felt, located his target and launched a wind-enhanced three-pronged kunai at the hunched-back ninja in the Akatsuki cloak. The ninja dodged the kunai with a small jump but wasn't prepared for the Odama Rasengan that blinked into existence in a flash of yellow. The massive, spiraling ball of chakra drove through the enemy ninja, sending shards and splinters of wood everywhere, but Naruto saw a shadow that escaped the light. He also heard the cracking of wood as he finished his attack. Naruto recovered from his Rasengan attack and looked toward the enemy that escaped his attack. It looked like a small boy in his mid-teens with red hair. However, the red scorpion tattoo on his cloak over his heart informed Naruto that this was no teenage boy. That was the signal of Sasori of the Red Sands, and Naruto was not going play fuck around with such a dangerous enemy. Upon closer inspection, it looked like the boy was made of wood and his body was segmented. Well, Sasori of the Red Sands, I knew you were a puppet master, but I never would have thought of turning into a puppet. Tell me, did that have a negative impact on your dating life? Kyuubi Jinchuriki, you are a fearsome opponent. We were warned of you, but this exceeds anything we were warned of. I will no longer underestimate you. Naruto grunted in response and noticed that the ninja grabbed a scroll from his pouch. With a massive puff of smoke, 100 or so puppets clattered to life and assaulted his position. Naruto launched a three-pronged shuriken at the puppet army and flipped through hand signs. Kunai Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he whispered and multiplied one kunai into 200. He then flipped to the bird seal, inhaled and thought, futon, great breakthrough, as he exhaled. A powerful and extensive gust of wind sped behind the volley of kunai. It tripled their speed and penetration power as they penetrated straight through the puppet army. Following the piercing projectiles came a blunt force wind that leveled the landscape and sent the puppet army flying in all directions. Sasori was forced to dig himself into the ground in response to avoid the volley of kunai and windstorm. He lost control of most of his puppets, a majority of which lay in shredded pieces of wood scattered on the ground. Naruto sensed the ninja go below ground, so he channeled chakra to his right leg and foot, then stomped it onto the ground. A deep fissure extended from his position and threw massive chunks of rock and debris upward in a jagged explosion of earth. Sasori was forced up and out of the ground and was mid-air when he took a hit to his chest plate. Naruto saw the airborne Sasori and used a Tsunade-style punch to capitalize. The whole front of Sasori's puppet body exploded, and he was launched back nearly 100 meters. When he rose to the ground, Naruto saw a hollow chest and a completely shredded body. He knew he didn't hit normal flesh when his punch connected, but this is monstrous. He enhanced his vision and saw that there was another scorpion seal on the ninja's back. His eyes saw that this was the origin point for the puppet ninja's chakra and saw the chakra strings that extended from it to the rest of the puppet body. Naruto smirked. He had found his new target. Sasori was panicking now and knew it was time to bring out his trump card. He unsealed a ninja that should scare any enemy that sees it. Every ninja that had seen his premier creation before had died without being able to tell a soul. It was the puppet form of the third Kazekage and it clattered to life. A compartment in its chest opened and black sand began pouring out. The black sand was forced to form a large wall in order to block a storm of fire that was heading his way. Sasori saw the iron sand block the attack and there was a massive cloud of smoke and dust left. Before he could reacquaint himself with the battlefield, a blue ball of chakra appeared in front of him. Sasori blinked his puppet eyes and the head looked down at the ball of chakra that was being held by an arm through this back. Naruto saw the black sand and immediately launched, Kaiten, Majestic Flame Annihilation, at the new puppet. He used a set of shunshin to go around the edge of the massive attack and circle behind his opponent. As the flames exploded against the iron sand wall and melted it to slag, Naruto blinked forward and slammed a Rasengan through his opponent's back. This wooden plate felt different, and blood and flesh spurted out of the plate in massive quantities as the Rasengan shredded through the back of the enemy. The chakra signature was fading rapidly, and Naruto whispered these final words into the puppet's ear. Death comes for the enemies of peace. Your biggest mistake was fucking with my family. For your offense, I will personally deliver your soul to the Shinigami. Now eat shit and die, fucker. Sasori's conscience faded from existence before he could reply. His soul was sucked into the Shinigami tattoo on Naruto's right hand. Naruto's red markings faded briefly before he dispelled a clone of his and regained his nature energy. That was fucking savage, Kit. Not to mention bloody brilliant. Kurama beamed in pride from Naruto's mindscape. Before Naruto could respond, he heard a massive explosion and looked off into the distance. He couldn't see the enemy due to the smoke from his own fight and the flaming tree canopy that was billowing smoke. He once again jumped high into the air to gain a proper view over the battlefield. Naruto had felt a significant chakra spike form Itachi right before the explosion, and as he cleared the tree canopy, he saw the massive red chakra construct that was shrouded in a mushroom cloud. The red Susanoo launched 6 red shuriken projectiles at the airborne enemy. The shuriken maneuvered midair and tracked the gray bird as it tried to dive and dodge the potent chakra. The shuriken impacted the clay bird, eliminated it before it could even explode. Naruto saw the blonde guy in the Akatsuki cloak jump from the bird before it was decimated. Darui saw the blondie now suspended in the sky and knew this was his opening. He clasped his hands together and shouted, "Storm release, laser circus." Naruto watched as hundreds of beams of blackish-red lasers screamed into the sky. They arced and coalesced on the airborne enemy before he could react. 1, 2, 20 laser beams connected on the enemy's airborne formed and created a sizable, chakra-dense explosion. The smoking corpse fell from the sky unceremoniously and impacted with the ground 10 seconds later, and it was surrounded by the international shinobi force immediately. Surprisingly, the shinobi was still alive, although he was missing both of his arms and his legs were in tatters. Naruto threw a kunai at their position and called out in a Kurama-enhanced voice that screamed across the battlefield, "Scatter, now!" The well-trained force jumped back from the enemy as he began to glow. Naruto appeared in a yellow flash and heard the ninja say, "Art is an explosion." The glowing body exploded with chakra as Naruto slammed his hands to the ground and called out, "Impact barrier, Fuin." Kanji spread out from his hand at an amazing rate and created a red barrier that was 20 meters in diameter. The explosion caused the barrier to glow a brilliant red-orange, and the edges of the barrier expanded in uneven bubbles. The barrier lasted long enough for Naruto to flash to the carriage inside the caravan's barrier. After 10 seconds, the barrier could no longer contain the explosion, and the biggest mushroom cloud Naruto had ever seen appeared on the horizon. Itachi and Darui had their squads retreat at top speed, but they were only 300 meters away when Naruto's barrier exploded outward. All ninjas used whatever protective jutsu they could, which resulted in walls of earth, water and fire springing to life in between them and the oncoming explosion. Every ninja of Squad 1 and 2 threw themselves on the ground after raising their barriers. The shockwave impacted the prone shinobi force, which rattled their teeth and violently shook their brains for a full 10 seconds. The explosion created a crater that was nearly 400 meters in diameter, and the trees surrounding the crater were blown over for another 200 meters. Naruto and Squad 3 rushed to their comrades' position. Medic Ninja immediately began healing the wounded, and Naruto sent Squad 3 to conduct cleanup operations and eliminate any remnants of the enemy force. Naruto extended his senses and could no longer feel that third strange signature he had felt. He walked over to Itachi and Darui with a smirk on his face. "Two down, boys. Ha, and, wah," with the elegant responses to his statement. Naruto laughed as both shinobi pointed to their ears, indicating they couldn't hear anything. Naruto walked forward with glowing green palms and healed both of them. "I said, 2 down, boys." He spoke slowly and loudly like he was talking to 2 deaf idiots. Itachi punched him in the shoulder and then put a small, pleased smile on his face. "2 down, Ruto. That attack you used was terrifying. I don't think my Susanoo could stand up to that." Darui, who really appreciated that the ringing in his ears was gone, chipped in. "You're telling me, Itachi? That was inhuman. We were hundreds of meters away and I could still feel the power of those wind blasts. I am so glad the Raikage accepted your offer, Naruto-sama. I never wished to stand on the opposite side of the battlefield from you." Naruto chuckles and assumes his pose, hand rubbing the back of his head. "Ha ha, yeah, it is not often I get to cut loose. I was in Sage mode and using Kurama's chakra, which made him even more badass than I thought. Well, it greatly reduced their numbers, and it single-handedly swung the battle in our favor. My squad took a few casualties, but no deaths. Itachi sounded pleased and relieved. Sasuke walked into the conversation. Ni-chan, Ruto, that was amazing. Ruto, when are you going to teach me the Raisin Shuriken? You have shown it to me before, but it never did that much damage. Well, Ototo, that's because I was in my Golden Sage mode, which enhanced the jutsu quite a bit. Let's see, if you want to learn that you will just need to become a Sennin, master Wind Chakra to at least level 4, expand your chakra reserves by 10 times what you currently have and somehow get a biju sealed into your gut. Oh, and after you get all that, you have to train for hundreds of hours. But I am sure you can do it, Ototo. Sasuke's smile continued to fall as Naruto talked and it turned into a scowl. He dropped the scowl when Itachi put a comforting hand on his shoulder. HN, was his eventual reply. The whole group laughed and went to join their squads in cleaning up the battlefield. They dropped the barrier around the caravan 30 minutes later and Naruto went with Itachi to report to the daimyo's carriage. Daimyo Dono and Hokage Sama, we engaged a force of 400 coalition ninjas and 2 Akatsuki members, Sasori of the Red Sands and Deidara the Mad Bomber. All enemies are neutralized. I wish to commend my international forces and credit Darui of the Cloud and Itachi of the Leaf for their takedown of Deidara. The daimyo waved a fan in front of his face and replied in a gentle and slightly aloof voice. Very good, Namikaze-kun. You have done well. We will award your forces during the Chunin exam finals. I am proud of you both, Naruto-kun and Itachi-kun. The future is safe in your hands. Anything else to report? Hiruzen said in a proud and professional tone. We will continue to move immediately to the planned rest stop for the night before entering the desert, so long as you approve, Daimyo Dono. Naruto bowed politely as he said this. Ah, of course Naruto-kun. I trust your judgment implicitly. Naruto left the daimyo's carriage and went to check in on his girls. Suna was in the carriage making sure the girls were okay. They all jumped out of the carriage and glommed onto him. He spent 10 minutes giving hugs, kisses and assuring them all that he was okay. He joined them for the rest of the trip and the group made it safely to Sunagakure 3 days later. The caravan pulled up to the gates of Suna around midday 3 days after the fight with the coalition forces. Suna was surrounded by massive, bowl-shaped cliffs that encompassed the whole hidden village. The cliffs were 50 meters thick all the way around and the only gap in the cliffs was the front gate of Suna. On top of the cliffs, hundreds of ninjas were posted and on high alert. On ground level, a battalion of ninjas was processing the incoming personnel and they were being led by Baki. Next to Baki, Gaara stood in the cage robes with a smile on his face. Naruto turned on his kitsune eyes and saw that the barriers he installed were working well. He walked ahead of his caravan to gain entry to Suna. Heya, Gaara. Congrats on the promotion. I didn't know they would do it before the exam finals, but I guess congratulations are in order. Did anyone else encounter resistance on the trip here? Naruto's greeting was cheerful and Gaara accepted Naruto's extended hand. The Mizukage, Reikage and Tsuchikage made it safely. I said that they fought a small force on the journey here, but the others made it without incident. What happened during your journey here? Oh, nothing major. Just fought 400 shinobis and killed 2 Akatsuki. By the way, I will accept a payment plan for Sasori of the Red Sands bounty. I have what is left of his puppet army, the 3rd Kazekage's corpse and his body sealed away. The usually stoic Gaara was trying to pick his jaw up off the sand when he heard a click. A Naruto clone walked up and handed Naruto 2 pictures. Naruto looked at the pictures and burst out laughing. Gaara tried to immobilize Naruto's arm and destroy the pictures, but Naruto instantly sealed them into his arm. Gaara demanded the pictures, but Naruto kept dodging his sand and teasing him about the new additions to the album. The allied shinobi forces got a good kick out of watching the Kazekage chase the blonde knucklehead around. With everyone in high spirits, the caravan moved into Suna and got settled into a nice hotel. Naruto, Temari and the girls were escorted to the Cage Mansion and were invited to stay there for the duration of their stay. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.